Like those incompetent computer people. Like,
no one saw us
that have
being
never,
incompetent.
That have like, ooh, what is that
no,
button
Mom,
for?
You know why we didn't know what to do? Because this is the first time we've been on time. We don't know what it's like to be on time.
Why does it say, finish? We hit finish when we want to finish.
When we're done.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
It doesn't say finished. It says finish.
Let's see if there's anybody watching.
Anybody there?
Make sure to say hello if you're watching.
Knock.
So we can say hi to you.
So we'll do some like aimless chatter here.
No, let's not do a lot because people might watch it later and they're not going to want to.
They don't want to hear that
aimless chatter. So, but before, just for a little warm up, we are going to show you something that Zidi's been working on.
This is my instructor, teacher, coach gift for the performance that I'm giving to 6 of my instructor, teacher, coaches, people. So
it's just a fun zippy bag,
all
right?
scraps, all made out of the studio. Didn't buy anything. This is Mallory's old pregnancy outfit and
dance outfit.
And right. Yeah.
Hey, Marisa. And then, so it's all sparkly on one side, and then on the other side it has a very important message. And it says, point your effing toes. Here, it's like blurry.
It says the real.
I'm not going to say it out loud, just in case someone's listening with their kiddo or someone.
That's right.
But that's what it says. And so anyway, this is going to be the image I use for a blog post that is going to be about why we allow swearing in our Facebook group.
Because some people like to swear.
Yeah, some people like it.
And, this just came...
And you really like to swear.
Well, this just came up, it comes up every day. And somebody said, I just don't like, when everybody starts swearing for no reason at all, then, you need to go to another group. Honestly, this is our shtick, okay?
That's right.
Is that you get to talk like you want, as long as it's not, condescending or in any way, what do I want to say? An assault on someone,
Okay, so all the zigzaggers probably know this.
And my bangs are long because I have to pull them back.
Okay, so today we're going to broadcast this is a makeup broadcast for March, okay?
This is March's broadcast on
April 4th because this wonderful software that we're using didn't talk to Facebook for a few weeks, and so it was not great.
Sure, it was Facebook's fault. Couldn't have
Facebook has been doing some weird stuff. So.
Well, yeah, I am. I'm getting weird stuff on Facebook.
Okay, so today's broadcast here, I'm going to pop this up here just for a little visual. Who should I cover up?
Cover up me.
Cover up you. So it's how to hem pants.
Your pants are talking.
It's how to hem pants with no hem-ons. Yeah, so Rachel said I'm excited about activewear. So we are going to do another broadcast this month.
Oh, Rachel, there's so much activity and activewear. You're going to be so surprised.
Our activewear is very active.
And I'm going to make a swimsuit that makes my butt look amazing.
Yes. So this one is about how to hem pants with no hem allowance. So this is our before picture here of... These are the Jenny trousers that I made myself, and they were just absolutely, they fit great, they were wonderful, and all that jazz after I did just a couple alterations to them. But I didn't leave enough hem allowance because, throw it down. Rachel says my boobs will look better than Zidi's butt.
Actually, in my latest costume, I have holographic boobs.
I know.
They have halos on them.
Zidi's got nice boobs too, so we'll see. Battle of the boobs and butts. All right. Maybe we should have people vote or something.
I want somebody to vote on my body.
Yeah,
really
I know.
bad.
That's all
that's what I really want
with
to
our
happen.
values, right? Yeah.
Please judge my body.
Yes. So, I made these pants, and I bought this fabric to make, actually, I think I wanted to make, a shirt dress out of it, or a pair of ginger jeans.
It's because we just buy fabric.
Yeah, whatever.
And we may have some vague idea of what we want.
But I think I just bought 2 yards because...
Which is not right, because what do I say to buy?
What do you say to buy?
3.
Oh, okay.
3, but I say 3 minimum.
2... will do a pair of jeans for me, a pair of ginger jeans.
Right.
Plenty of fabric. Plenty of fabric. And so I was planning, I think, on making those. Right. What I'm deducing from the amount of fabric I made.
This is a wide leg trouser.
This is a wide leg, and...
Really wide.
It took a lot more fabric.
And high waist.
Yes.
So there was,
The waist is just about as long as my inseam. Like excuse me, the rise.
Because that's what our bodies are.
Yes. No, like my rise, I think, was maybe...
Actually, I think my inseam and my rise are about the same.
yeah, exactly. Because I was making them very, very high-waisted.
Actually, my crotch curve and my inseam are probably the same. Yeah. Same measurement.
For how I want them to fit and everything.
Right.
So anyway, I just barely made it, even cutting these out. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, Mom's like, you don't have a lot of room to hem these, and I don't like hemming things anyway, right? So she was, we were just brainstorming, and Mom knows how to use the blind hemmer like a boss. Okay, Mom is a blind hemming
because I have short legs
expert, and the blind hemmer has always been a little bit of a mystery to me. So I was like, oh, like, can we do this? She's like, you should do a facing, you should blind hem it, da-da-da.
And I actually had the idea that we probably should face the hem.
Yeah, you said face
because, I mean, even though this came up and she actually needed it, I felt like a lot of people had that. And then when we decided to do this, wasn't it less than 24 hours later, somebody said, how do you face it?
Yeah, exactly.
It was very
and I was
serendipitous.
I was sad that the broadcast got delayed because I was like, oh, we're about to do this. Now, we're going to show the blind hem machine today, and it's super cool and super awesome, but we'll also tell you, of course, that you don't have to have a blind hem machine to do this. You can use the blind hem feature on your sewing machine. You can also, I could have just top stitched the hem that we end up with.
I mean, I think the thing I'd like to say about the blind hem machine is it's not a very expensive machine. I mean, to me. What are they?
In the grand scheme
of
things.
Are they like less than $300? Yeah. So, if you're looking, to doing a lot of hemming, especially like trousers where you want that invisible hem, we don't do as many invisible hems as we used to. Like, visible hems are more acceptable now.
Yeah. We got a warning. Preschooler watching too.
Okay. Don't show her the beginning of the show.
Yeah, don't
can
show
she read? It depends.
Yes.
But anyway,
I think I have sequins on my neck from that thing.
Well, good. I want some too. Let me put some on my shirt.
They're all over my computer.
Yeah, we have them every place.
Okay.
So you may want to think about a blind hemmer if you really like, if you hem a lot.
Now, disclaimer, the blind hemmer we use in the video is no longer available.
It was a Baby Lock blind hemmer, and they do not carry it anymore. I think people don't use them as much.
If they'd had ZD selling this blind hemmer,
they'd be selling a bunch of blind hemmers.
Now, there are other blind hemmers available, like on Amazon and stuff. I'll show you a few of them.
And they're very comparable.
And I actually...
Isn't there one with a knee lift now?
Yes, and ours doesn't have a knee lift. Yeah. I was going to ask in the group, sort of like, has anyone used these? Because technically, I've not used these other ones. It's a pretty, though, straightforward machine, even though it seems a little...
The other thing about a blind hemmer, like if you have to hem a lot of things that you need to drop the hem back out of, like in a costume shop, or what I'm thinking of is I did a lot of blind hems on marching band uniforms because they pass them back and forth from year to year, and you can fold those suckers up, and you can have a blind hem that's like 3 inches above the hem, and it does a good job.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so without further ado, the first thing we're going to talk to you about here is I kind of toyed with the idea of how we were going to order this live broadcast, but let's just go ahead and give you a brief overview of the blind hemmer and how it works.
Okay. So my spool sits here on a spool pen. My thread comes up through this guide, holding it a little bit high, and comes down here. We're going to pass by this particular knob, which is actually stitch length. And that of course, can be varied. Then my thread continues down through a couple of little eye guides here and up through a tension disc. And this, of course, can be turned to adjust the tension of your thread. There's a guard here. I'm going to put this open. It's supposed to remain shut when you sew. There's another little guide right here after the tension disc. And my thread's going to go through a little hole right here. And it comes, I'm going to undo this here so you can see. So it comes through a little hole here. There's a guide here. And then my needle is threaded through the top. Now on this particular machine, this is a home needle, and the flat of my needle is right here. So it's almost facing me. It's kind of at a 45-degree angle between being up or facing me. And the thread goes down through there. There are stitch fingers here. So I'm going to put a piece of, this is my little faux hem piece for you. So you'll be able to see these stitch fingers. So there's stitch fingers in here. And this is another finger you'll see that actually helps to basically crochet my thread or loop my thread over. And this is a guide that's important too when you're sewing, okay, because you're guiding that through. If I come over here, this will actually lift my arm up and put this fabric in place. So I've got the edge of my hem here, and it's being held up between these two stitch fingers. Let me do that again for you. See if I can get it just perfect for you. It's kind of hard to do on TV. There it goes. Okay. So this was the lever right here that I used to pull that up. There's another knob here that is my stitch depth, which is how much of a bite it's taking out of the fabric, when it sews. Over here, there is something called a stitch skip, which means it will only pick up on every other stitch. So no matter what stitch length I have, I can double it if I have it to skip stitch, and I have that off. And this is my hand wheel, and there's a little toggle switch here for power. But now I'm going to show you exactly how this forms a stitch, and it's going to be really cool. So I've got the edge of that hem right there in those stitch fingers. It lines up with this guide, and this guide is also adjustable. I'm going to leave the door open. That is not prudent, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I am going to just hand wheel this so you can see the formation of the stitch. And it's going to take a bite right here out of my main fabric, and then a bite out of where I have my hem. And if I continue, this finger takes the loop of that thread and brings it back. And you can see how stable this is because I'm not holding my fabric at all. I'm using all my hands to demo this to you. And now here goes my needle through the bite of my fabric, and then through, and I will continue. Now when I sew, I like to sort of hold this up like this. I feel like I know that that's going to feed in there better. So if I was really going to sew this, I would close my door. I would hold this up. I would use the power pedal, and I would stitch through. I'm going to come all the way, I'm in a circle. I'm going to come all the way around and over my first stitching. And now what I have to do is, while my needle is back and not in the fabric, I'm going to open the door again, and I would not do this while I was sewing, but so you can see. So my needle is back here, and I'm going to drop my arm, okay, because I don't want it to take another bite. And then I'm going to grab my fabric, and I am going to also grab the thread, because if I don't have hold of the thread, it will come loose, right? So if I just pulled this through, do you see? It comes undone. So what I have to do here is I have to secure this. So I have to make a loop with my thread. And I have to secure it with a knot. And what I do is I sort of crochet it again. I hope you can see this thread. And I bring it through. And then that way, it's not going to pull loose. Okay. And wait till you see this. That's a blind hem because you can't see it. And then it's on stretch fabric. And if it's on stretch fabric, you'll have enough give.
Cool, huh?
Did you guys like it?
So that little sample, that was just kind of show you how the blind hem works. So on my trousers, I'll pop this up again. So I was using that fabric, using that stretch twill, okay. But we didn't have enough fabric to add to it.
Even to face it with its own fabric.
No.
Right.
In fact, there's barely enough fabric to do a waistband. Okay, so we used something else, and actually, I think this is kind of nice because we ended up using just a quilting cotton that I had used for the pockets, and I thought it makes this nice hem that's not too heavy, bulky, things like that. Mm-hmm. Like I like that it is a lighter weight fabric. So what we did,
go ahead. Well, the pants were knit. But we used a woven fabric, which actually wound up stabilizing that hem so it wasn't stretchy. But this was a wide leg pant, so it didn't matter. We didn't need the stretch. It wasn't like we were blind hemming something that needed to stretch over the foot or something.
Yeah, so Rachel, where can I get that sorcery machine? I'm going to post some Amazon links because so Baby Lock doesn't make that one anymore. And that one looks a little bit more like a home machine, okay? So the ones that they sell nowadays, they look a little more semi-commercial. They're a bit heavier. Like Mom said, around $300. Marie said, do you think the dedicated machine makes a nicer finish than the foot on a regular sewing machine?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Did you see how the needle moves parallel to the fabric?
Because it's parallel and it just picks up a thread or two and it has that depth adjustment. No, it's definitely more professional looking.
Yeah.
Now, if you only hem 2 or 3 things a year, I don't know that I'd make the investment.
I didn't know how to use it when I hemmed some other pants, and I did it on the machine, and it was fine. But this is like Rachel said, sorcery is a good word.
Yeah.
So my pants, my trousers, my pants looked like this. Okay, they had this raw edge down there. You see near
you can see she doesn't have any room to hem. That's her shoe right there.
So we were trying to take off as little as possible. So then this is how we dealt with the facing. And Rachel mentioned in the other group, she was talking about your elastic technique that we showed, not last month, but the previous month.
Yes, yeah.
About how you don't measure elastic.
Yeah.
Well, I never measure anything.
Don't measure hem facing.
That's right. Yeah. So this is another place where that kind of technique is.
I said this was a stable fabric, but we did cut it on the bias.
That's true.
But and the reason for that is not to get the elasticity or whatever or the stretch. It's to get a a smoother finish. It lays nicer.
And I can't see who asked this, but yes, it's very different. From the cover stitch
different from the cover stitch machine.
So if you watch that. And you saw the needle and how it was moving.
I believe we have a YouTube cover stitch.
Well, we have some YouTube, some on the cover stitch.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you look, sewhere.com cover stitch, you'll see some YouTubes that we've done, and you'll see the difference. I'm going to put pieces of sequin on you.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit. So, since I had no room to hem those pants, those trousers, we decided that we were going to face them. So let's talk a bit about, you just cut some 2-inch wide, I think they were, pieces of bias.
Oh boy, I guess. Yeah, I think it was.
Two and a half. No, I think it was 2.5 because you're going to press it down a certain amount.
Yes, because I take a 1/4 inch on one side and then I press
and you stitch it
a half inch or 1/4 inch.
Yeah. So,
can anybody hear a Great Dane barking? Because I can.
So, ZD is going to show you what she does with the bias to prep it for the facing.
Okay, 2 pieces of bias. I've cut these 2 inches in width and to go around the leg of the pant. And this just happens to be the same fabric Mallory used to make her pockets. So I've got a gauge here. I've got it set at a 1/2 inch. And I'm going to do a 1/2 inch fold over and I'm going to press. Because this will be the part that we actually blind hem into the leg of the pant. So I want this edge. Now I am truly pressing. I am not going back and forth or stretching or anything like that because it's a bias and I don't want to stretch it out of shape. I'm trying to keep it in shape. So I'm not pressing hard. I'm sort of just letting this go down on there, and I'm not going back and forth. So I'm going to do the entire length on one side only, just the one edge, which will be sort of the top edge of my hem. And I will do the entire length.
Okay, so those are just like long bias strips that we thought we knew were as long as they needed to be.
So one of them was too short, guys.
So you might want to
you might want to actually, didn't I think I had? I thought I measured it or something.
Well, Mom, of course, says it's my fault that one of them was too short when we were doing this. She's like, well, one leg must have been different than the other.
I said, oh, Mallory, your legs are two different sizes.
Of course.
But anyway.
She couldn't have cut the bias wrong. It was that I made the pants
Ideally, you would cut yourself, 2 or 3 extra inches.
Just cut some extra. Yeah. Or if you have some really long pieces of bias or something, don't cut them. Okay?
Cut them as you're sewing, you'll cut it off.
Yeah.
And you don't have to cut it beforehand.
So this is kind of like the elastic, how we would work off the roll.
But the circumference of this hem in this pant was like 30 inches. It was ridiculous.
They're really wide-legged. It was like 24.
Yeah, it was 24. I could wear the leg around my waist.
Right, yeah. Yes. Some people have a 24-inch waist. Yeah. There are some. It's your head. It's like your head.
Well, yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so don't when you do something like this, when you cut something for a facing, it's on the bias, which means that you're going to create this, fairly deep hem, and when you put it on the bias, as it goes up the leg, if the leg changes any shape or anything, it's more likely to keep matching up, right, Mom?
Yeah,
that's reason to put it on the bias, okay? It may just lay a little nicer. It's supposed to lay around in in the circle like this, so that's why bias.
If the leg would get a little bit larger, a little bit smaller, that would it would lay better too.
Yeah. So you have your big long piece of bias. You're gonna see that it meets up just about perfectly in this next video. But
this is the one that worked.
Yeah. So my point is, it can be a lot longer, and you can trim it.
It should be a lot
longer. It should be a lot longer, and then you can trim it. Okay, so here's sewing the bias to the hem of the pants in the first step of facing them for the hem.
My pants are inside out because I'm going to sew in the round, and I want to sew inside the pant leg. I've adjusted my needle over quite a bit, and I'm going to have just about a 1/4 inch seam allowance if I ride this up against the edge of my foot. And that's what I'm going to use as a guide. And that's usually about as little as you can get away with. Now, the other thing I'm going to do, so I have a nice finish when I come back around, is I'm going to fold this forward. Okay? I'm going to fold it down so that my finished edge is actually going to be folded. I'm going to lift my presser foot with my lead lift. I'm going to put it down. I have a straight stitch, and I'm at the length of 3.5. It does not need to be a tight stitch. Your hem does not get a lot of stress on it. And I'm going to sew now around, just using this as my guide. I'm not stretching because this is on the bias. My hem facing has been cut on the bias. Now, you can use the same fabric. You could use a commercially prepared bias. You could, obviously here, we're using this. And some of this is for demo purposes. You're going to be able to see where I stitched. And you can also match that thread if you want it.
Hi.
We forgot. There's 2 sections.
We forgot.
To this tape. Yeah.
So ZD's going around and hemming, and then
I don't make you watch the entire length of the long hem.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so here she is. She's going to get to the end, and keep in mind, you could have more extra than this if you did it the right way.
The right
ZD
the way I would consider
the way she would have done it.
Right.
Okay, so here she is finishing up this first step.
I'm coming back around to where I have folded over. And I'm going to complete my circle right here. And I will stitch over my old stitching. And I do not have to secure this because if I am sewing over my other stitching, I don't have to put any more bulk here. I'm securing these stitches. And I'm going to clip with my machine. Machine cuts threads. And now I have this here. And what I like to do here is I will just baste this just a little bit together so that when I go to sew, I don't have to worry about it. And all I'm going to do is take a straight stitch right down it. So just really close to the edge. And here I am going to secure and clip with my machine clippers. Okay? So that this way I don't have to worry about that coming apart or whatever. Now, because this is, you know, a scant amount of fabric, we can do, give me the word, can't remember.
Well, we're going to, cliffhanger, we're going to show you what the word is that CD is looking for.
Did I change feet?
Yeah, we changed feet and stuff. Oh, actually, we need to get that.
I'll get it.
Go get that foot. Okay, so what I want to, ZD's going to go away, and I'm going to sing her praises. So, like, when there's a pattern and it says to, like, face the hem on something that's very straight like this, or it's like, here, do this swimsuit strap or something like that.
Which is what we're doing this month.
Which is what we're doing this month. We barely ever, like, measure that to the garment. We just have we've got our 2-inch strip and we find our
definitely don't take a measuring tool and measure the garment and then a measuring tool and measure the fabric. If anything, we will lay the garment down on the fabric.
Yeah.
Because it's actually extra steps if you measure and you measure.
That's right.
Okay? So you're much better off taking the real garment, laying it down next to what, you need to cut, and knowing you have enough, which is what I did not do in our case.
That's right.
So do what ZD says, not what ZD does.
So she started off the bias with that edge folded over so that she'd have a finished edge, and then she just stitches that. And if you'd had extra, you just would have trimmed.
Right. I would have stitched, past that fold over, another quarter inch or so, and then I would have clipped it right there on the sewing machine. Just, clip the excess, then done what I had done there,
Right.
Folded it over.
So there's, if my leg opening's 24 inches and I've got 30-something inches of bias. Yeah, there's no need to measure for something like this.
No.
Don't, and you're at the sewing machine, you're like, okay, I'm done. Things meet up. I get to seam it. I get to clip it. How freaking cool is that? Yeah. So that should be, I hope that empowers some people on some things like that, I guess, is what I'm saying. The next thing we're going to show you is understitching. And if anybody doesn't know what understitching is, you'll find out. But the foot that we're using is the edge joining foot here. And I probably should have just pulled a picture from the internet of this foot because it's kind of hard to show the webcam.
If you
foot.
Turn
here we go.
But if you,
I'm doing a good job.
Oh yeah.
Hold something
up
behind it.
Also, if you turn it over, whoops.
Oh, you mean like?
Yeah.
Okay.
There.
Okay.
You see that? See this right here?
Yeah. So
there's basically like a blade.
Yeah. A blade is a good word for it. So this.
Okay. Yeah. Don't mix it up with the blind hem foot.
That's right.
Not the same. It won't work the same.
No, we did a whole episode on this. I'll share it again.
It's been discussed before.
Yeah. This foot has this guide going down the middle. It's going to remind you of your blind hem foot. That is fine, but the guide doesn't extend into the stitch area. Mm-hmm. So this foot allows you to move your needle all around wherever the heck you want it. Right. You could do zigzag stitch, you can do a decorative stitch, whatever you want to do. The blind hem foot, the guide goes up into the stitch area, and you need to be using it with your blind hem stitch. And if you try to do some decorative stitch with that, you're going to end up with a mess, okay?
Right.
Broken needles.
Hurt stuff.
Yeah. So this is different from the blind hem foot.
So this can be called a couple of things. Edge joining foot.
Stitch in the ditch.
Stitch in the ditch foot, people will call it. So it's also used a lot in heirloom sewing when you are joining two pieces of fabric together.
Yeah, and that's, I think, why they call it edge joining. Or edge stitch. So when you have that guide down the center, you can run that guide down some seam and then move your needle over to one side or the other.
So it's great on top stitching if you want to stitch like on one side of the seam and on the other side of the seam. So you run the blade in the ditch, and you're not stitching in the ditch, you're stitching next to the ditch by moving your needle over.
I think it could just as well be called the understitching foot because it is so well suited to the task.
I used to, this comes with a lot of machines now.
Well, no, it doesn't.
Well, no.
Because they know you'll buy it, okay? And so it doesn't come with a lot of machines.
You know, two feet that I would like not want people to leave our shop with were the edge without. You
said
without. They'd have all these feet, and I'd say, "There's two more feet I really think you should have that'll make you happy." This was one, the edge joining foot or the stitch in the ditch, and an open-toed applique foot.
Okay.
So, I would just, if they didn't come with machine, I would tell people, you need this.
Yeah, so when near the end of days at the shop,
in the days,
Armageddon, the edge joining foot barely came with any machines. An open-toe foot would come with a lot of machines.
Yeah, it started coming.
And I made people buy the narrow zipper foot in this foot.
Yeah.
Okay, so all about...
I would tell people to buy the universal zipper
customizing,
foot, too.
Yeah, all about customizing that sewing experience. So yes, this foot, if you don't have it, there is one for your machine, like we said, edge joining, stitch in the ditch, da-da-da. And then understitching is what you'll see in this next video clip. And once again, this is split into two video clips for, some reason.
Sort of bizarre editing reasons.
I don't know.
Our mistakes.
ZD probably did something wrong, and that's why it's split into two clips, right?
But usually my mistakes turn out really well.
Okay, so understitching.
I have my edge stitching foot here, which has this blade in the middle as a guide. And that will be placed right in this seam. And I have moved my needle over so that it will not stitch in the middle, but it will stitch just to the left of that blade. And I'm going to just finger press this apart. I'm not really pulling, I'm putting a slight amount of tension on it maybe. I'm on a stitch length of 3.5 still, because it's just sort of a base. I got some little pokies there that I will trim out later.
What are you sewing through?
I'm sewing through, I can show you this, where I sewed this on, right? And then onto my hem allowance that I had, the little bitty bit I had. So actually I'm sewing through 3 layers and then the top of this. And this is just going to give me a nice crisp edge when I go to turn it up. And because I don't want any of that when I'm wearing it to like droop down. I want that hem to remain crisp. Coming up on my stitching where I started, I'm going to clip that, make sure that's out of the way and I don't get a little thread wad or anything. And then I'm just going right over that stitching. And again, I do not have to secure it because going over it is what secures it. I'm going to clip. And this is what I have. So now this will easily fold up and give me a nice clean look here.
Okay, so that's understitching. Oh, and ZD made she misspoke a little bit. The needle's over to the right.
It's the machine's left.
It's over, yeah. What did you say left? It's stage left, it's machine's left, but it's our right. So anyway. So yeah, when you understitch.
You know what I meant.
When you understitch, you're going through like facing, lining.
Right.
Or something like that.
You're basically smoothing them down together so they stay together and you don't get a droop when you turn it up.
Let me say it one more time. Yeah. You're going through your lining or your facing or whatever that inner fabric is, and then both seam allowances. So the only thing you're not going through is like your outer fabric.
So this is what you would do on a neck facing, any facing.
Yeah.
So this is the same thing when they say understitch. And it sounds like a misnomer because you feel like you're stitching on top of the fabric. But what happens is it's turning it to the underside
If
of the
you've
garment.
never understitched anything, I remember the first time I understitched something, and I was like, what magic is this? Like, it's
and
just
do
magic.
not press it first.
Don't press it first. Don't
Finger
press
pressing
it first.
like I did and going along as you do. And don't pin it. Finger press it as you go and be with a light touch. That's what
You're
works.
more likely to distort and do weird stuff with your iron. You're stitching so close to something that's already been sewn.
And a lot of times it's, of course, on the bias because a neckline is on the bias.
Yeah. And then if it's not on the bias, you definitely don't need to be pressing
and where do you use a hem facing? Oftentimes on something that's not straight.
Yeah.
It's oftentimes on something that's cut in a scallop or an irregular shape or something.
Yes.
So, don't stretch. If it's not a straight line on the absolute grain of the fabric, it will stretch if you manipulate too much.
That's right. And so you're stitching so close to where you've already stitched that, like, you don't need to worry about pressing or anything like that. Okay, so don't even worry about it. But then when you're finished, it's like it folds magically for you. I understitch all of my pockets, like the pockets in these trousers.
The edge.
Oh my gosh, it just makes such a huge difference. And then it's like you almost don't need to press it after you're finished.
A lot of times you really don't.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So this might seem a little overkill for these pants, and it'll take you less time to do this than to watch this video. Yeah,
always.
This doesn't take as much time. But don't you like how I made Mom hem my pants?
And then I had to hem the other
crafty of me. Yeah, I made her hem the other leg.
Take a picture of
no, but I was like, just do it. Just do it. It's fine. I don't need to video this.
Okay, she's worn those pants like every day since we made them.
That's my problem. I make something. I love it. I wear it every day from then on. Actually, these pants I don't wear every day. I wear them when I'm someplace nice, not around my children, and then I come home and take them off. Yes.
So you can wear them again the next day.
That's right. And kind of not apropos to the hemming, these pants are so comfortable. I know everyone is like, secret pajamas are like stretchy, soft. Maybe they're ponte or they're rayon or something like that. This is a stretch twill. It's not a super soft fabric, but the nature of this pattern, I was just like curled up on my couch in them just because they were so not super tight.
And it is a soft fabric.
But I don't think most people would be like, I want twill, stretch denim, stretch twill pajamas.
Well,
you know what I mean?
No, but
you know what I'm saying?
This is a pretty soft twill even, I think.
You're kind of negating my point. I'm sorry.
Okay? I'm sorry. No, but it is a soft twill. There are stiffer twills than this.
It's so heavy, and it's
there's a stiffer twill right over there. I know where it is.
So anyway, I love this pattern. I'm working on a review for it right now. But anyway, now we're bringing you back the machine sorcery, okay? And ZD is going to blind hem the trousers. Now, I can't remember if you say this in this video or not. So are you going to press this hem in place?
I don't press hems in place.
Before sewing them.
It's a mistake.
She's going to pin in a few places. Okay? That is in there.
And had this been a smaller hem, not as wide, I might not have pinned at all.
Yeah, because it's like a 20.
Had I not been on TV, I might not have pinned at all. You may want to pin a whole bunch. Okay, pinning is arbitrary to the person, and if they're comfortable, their skill level, how many times they've done it, all kinds of things. Subjective, okay.
Arbitrary, yeah.
But when somebody says, do you pin this? Maybe I used to, okay?
It depends on the fabric, too.
And that's
I don't know.
But the other thing is, do you know how many pairs of pants I've hemmed?
Right.
Thousands. And I'm not kidding. Thousands. So it's sort of like I can do it without looking.
Yeah, so if you feel the need to pin more, but pressing, using pressing in place of pinning, like using pressing to get your fabric in position is not a good idea. You can distort things.
And once you distort the fabric, it's distorted.
And then a lot of people will tell you, in your machine owner's manual, even in the machines we endorse and every other machine, it'll tell you to press in a blind hem.
The only thing that like a hem that I ever really press is what you just saw on that bias.
Yeah.
Where I'm folding that edge because I want a folded bias edge to work with.
We press our jeans hems, too.
Yeah, we do.
We press those before we do them. So kind of a different animal there. But we do not.
That's a specialty hem.
She doesn't press blind hems before she does it. Okay, so here we're going to magical sorcery machine.
So I have pinned my hem a little bit, sort of basted it with the pins, and I'm placing it under this guide and seeing that it goes between the fingers. And I have already tested to make sure that I like the stitch length and I like the depth of my needle. I'm taking that pin out. I have to take the pins out as I go around. One reason I put the pins in is I wanted to make sure I kept this fairly even around here and had that same look, and it was nice and clean. Only finger pressed. I will press it later. I would not want to press this in yet. Finger press only. So here we go. I'm starting on the inseam so that when I go over my stitches, it's actually on the inside of the leg. I'm going to have to remove a pin. And again, stop and re-grasp if you need to. We never don't do that. We always want to make sure instead of like thinking, oh, I can get through this fast. This is pretty fast, actually. Get that needle out of there, or that pen. Make sure this is how I want it to look. And I like to hold this up. It always works better for me if I do this. It will work without holding it up, but I feel like I get a better and cleaner stitch and edge if I do this. Now, if I would happen to go inside over here and not be sewing there, it still wouldn't show. It might not look as sweet as I wanted it to, but it would be fine from the outside. It would still be a blind hem. And it would only be catching a few of the threads in the garment. So I'm coming back around to that hem. Here's my previous stitching. I'm going to go over it. I have to drop my arm and maybe get my needle out of my fabric so that I can grab the thread and pull it away. Now, this, where you started, that thread will not come undone. It's secured. It's where you end, the thread will pull out. So I need to find a loop. And a lot of times I will do this while I'm still on the machine, just to make sure I've got enough thread, because I can pull it through without the tension engaged. And I just crochet a knot in that. Don't trim it all the way close. Leave a little extra. Oh, where's the hem, Mallory?
I'm blinded.
It's a blind hem. So now I would go and I would press this down to give it a crisp edge.
All right, can't see the hems, blind.
Blind hem.
Blind hemming. So if you were going to, let's pretend that you made a pair of trousers that didn't have enough hem allowance to them like this. I know ZD just finished this with the blind hem, but if you didn't mind having top stitching, you could have top stitched. Okay, you could have blind hemmed on the machine, could have done a decorative stitch, whatever you want. Okay, so just heads up that would also be like valid here. I just could not resist showing off that machine.
You can easily use the blind hem foot on this application that I would run that blade of my blind hem right along the edge of that facing. The way the machine instructions often read is they go inside, and then they have this little flappy piece there. I don't do it that way.
Well, sewing machine blind hemming might be another really good video to do, actually, tips on that. And it can all, ZD said she tested a lot. Yeah. Okay, you need to test on your machine, too. You can make adjustments. The bite of the needle, it'll change depending on the fabric.
Yes. Any instructions you even get on the blind hem that might be in your manual or something like that, it'll say, stitch with this, or whatever. every fabric's different. The bulk is different on the fabric, so the stitch width and the stitch length and all that's going to be different.
Sometimes when we would teach blind hemming on the serger, and I know, Rachel, you've asked about this, I would just give everybody the sample and have them do it, okay? And then everyone would be like, oh, everyone's result would be different, okay? Right. They'd be like, oh, mine, you can see all the stitches, mine's perfect, da-da-da, and there's an adjustment you can make on that foot to, like, move the blade and stuff. And I'm like, yes, this, or it depends on how you hold the fabric, too, okay? Everybody wait till I post an affiliate link to these blind hem machines, okay? And I will do so, okay? So, anyway, I'm going to post a few, and actually, I'm going to post some affiliate links that are to websites that actually have support. Like, it's not just... I mean, Amazon's great. I buy a lot of stuff off of Amazon, but there are a couple of companies where you can actually, like, order from them and call them and talk to them, too. So before you go and buy them, buy through our affiliate link. Okay, so now ZD's going to press the hem. Check it out.
I'm using cotton organdy as a press cloth because I always use a press cloth, especially the first time I put something in. I had to turn my iron down. It was a little high. It's another reason to use a press cloth. And I'm just pressing like this. I'm on a sleeve board. I really don't want to press this flat the first time, especially if there's any curve to my hem. This is the best way to do it, as far as I'm concerned. Coming all the way around. The reason I like the cotton organdy is I can see through it and I can see what I'm doing. It also takes a high amount of heat. When you're pressing in a hem, especially like this, and you have exposed threads, like you do on a blind hem, you also want to make sure that your iron is not going to melt your threads. So if you have a thread that melts at a lower temperature than, the fabric setting would call for, you want to go to the setting for the thread because you don't want to melt it. So polyester thread does melt, and it melts at a lower temperature than cotton thread. I think I made it all the way around, did I? Feels warm, I might have. So this is what it looks like from the inside, nice and finished. And then from the outside, we don't see my facing at all, or actually my hem.
All right, so there we go. Everyone's all intrigued by the blind hem machines.
I know.
And if you have any questions, you can keep those going here. But yeah, I think that I think we did a pretty good job. That was a fun video to do. So for those of you who are still watching, and I'm going to send out an email about this probably in the next day or two, our next live broadcast, the one for April actually, is scheduled for April 18th. That's a Thursday, right? We've been doing these on Thursdays. It's been working nicely. Yes, so 2 weeks 2 weeks from today, Thursday, we're going to do our next live broadcast, and it's going to be about straps. What's the deal?
Sort of like active wear straps. So like there's a couple different kinds of straps you might want to use on swimsuits, active wear.
It's like making your own straps.
Right, how you make your own straps, and the strappy looks that you get like in the t-shirts and the tank tops and everything now, how to make those straps. And there'll be an application from the cover stitch machine.
Okay. So.
And your sewing machine. One thing I wanted to mention about pressing that hem in is I used a sleeve board. Had that hem been like on a curve, or that understitching been on a facing or something with a curve, or even like sometimes even a circle skirt, I would have maybe used a ham. Okay, because I want that curve.
Keep that curve. Yeah. And I mean, sometimes if it is on a skirt or something, and the fabric is the right way, you can kind of steam it, and then just
or you can even go without a ham. It depends. You can sometimes go without a ham or a board, but I don't lay the pant leg on top of the pant leg like in a sandwich and then iron it in. Not the first time.
Yeah.
Because you want to make sure it's the right way.
All right. Well, keep a lookout for that email for the reminder. The deal is, with this software, I'm absolutely loving it because pre-recording these things is really helping us out.
It's much more efficient, I think.
It's more efficient. It is a lot less pressure. If one of us does have some kind of issue, it's wonderful. But I can't put the little scheduled reminders up more than a week out. Okay, so I have to wait. Like, I'm going to have to wait till the 11th to put the reminder up for the 18th in the group. ZD's looking like, what?
I don't even know anyway, I don't even know why she has
that's
to.
why I'll send out an email.
I guess she knows what she's doing.
I will try to let people know in as many ways as possible so everyone can watch it. And then if you are new to zigzagging, there are other videos in this group
that you can get.
And then also, I have, I'm going to try and get these videos actually up onto Vimeo and put them on our website in a place where you can watch the past videos. Doesn't that sound like a good idea?
Yeah, I think another idea, you probably won't like this, but I do, and you guys will like it, is for those veterans we have to just even mention what some of your favorite videos are.
Mm-hmm.
In the comments, a big.
I'll put a post in the group now.
Okay.
And I'll say, hey, veterans, what have been your favorite past videos?
Right.
Tell the new people.
Those might be, because the new people might not exactly be thinking about it, or even think it's available.
I love that idea.
Oh my gosh. Did you hear that? Mallory liked my idea.
I love your idea, Mom. All right, everybody.
You guys, wait till you see activewear. This month. It's so good.
Is it going to be good? Because I don't really know what's going on
I'm like
yet.
the freaking star of activewear, I swear right now. I am like riding a high.
Okay, and then I don't really know how to bring this up in a tasteful manner, but I think that I can do it maybe better than you can. But because it's about you.
Oh.
But ZD has posted these pictures of her working on activewear and leotards and stuff in the group, and she's gotten all of this feedback like, you can't sew on that fabric, or don't do it like that. And
that fabric won't work.
I know that these people, of course, I don't expect everyone to know ZD or anything, but I'm like,
it is kind of funny.
It's just kind of funny because they'll be like, well, good luck, because I tried to sew on that and I couldn't. And
I had that mesh and my machine just ate it up.
Yeah, and we're like, well, we do know how to use this. We'd be happy to share tips, but it's just sort of funny. We're like,
I forgot about that.
People will be like, who the hell's Mallory Donahue? It's fine.
Why is she defending that old lady with her sequin fabric?
Anyway,
what is that old lady doing with sequins anyway?
It's just kind of funny. All right. You all have a lovely day. I will put up the transcription of this and get some photos in there for the zine, and take it away.
So long and so happy.